and welcome to Season 2 of the Posts About Ghosts podcast. I'm your co-host, Chellemo, and with me as always, I have Aidy. Hello, Aidy.
Hello.
For this episode, we thought it might be fun to take a look at some of the earliest ghosts and hauntings in history.
Yes.
So, I Googled world's first ghost story.
Right.
And this is what we came up with.
Mm.
What I found at first is considered to be possibly the very first depiction of a ghost. This image is found on a 3,500-year-old Babylonian tablet that is now on display at the British Museum. Someday I want you to take me to this museum. This place sounds fascinating, by the way.
I'd like to go there myself.
I'll be expecting a trip next time I come over.
Okay.
But so the museum curator, Irving Finkel, has written a book called The First Ghosts, Most Ancient of Legacies. And in that book is where you'll find his story of this tablet. So this tablet is from approximately 1500 BCE and is a part of a guide to exorcising ghosts. Now, from what I understand, this is a part of a series and a lot of it's missing. But what they do have is partial details on how to rid yourself of a ghost.
Mm.
Apparently, you did this by making two figurines, one of a man and one of a woman. And then you prepare 2 vessels of beer.
Nice.
There is no reason why it's beer. It's just beer. It's beer because beer. At sunrise, you speak words of a ritual that calls on the Mesopotamian god Shamash. I know I butchered that, but Shamash. And it's his job to take the ghost to the underworld. And what's on this tablet that they have at the British Museum is the actual image showing the man. And it looked to me when I saw it like his hands are bound together and he's being led into the underworld by someone else who I'm assuming is the god Shamash.
Right.
The interesting thing about this tablet, other than everything, is that the images on it can only be seen if you're looking at it from above and you're shining a light source right on it. Like if you're holding it directly under a lamp. If you look at the tablet from the front and there's no light source pointed at it, you can't even see much on the tablet. You can't tell that there's images and writings even on it. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
Yep, I think that's about it. That's where it lives now. It lives at the British Museum. You can still see it. What you got?
Oh, I have got one from a Norse saga set in Iceland. Now, I'm going to try and say this. It is the Airbyggjasaga, and how I've said it is not how it looks, but that's how I believe it's said, which roughly translated is the saga of the people of Ayr.
The people of Ayr.
Yeah, not Ayr as in Ireland. This is E-Y-R-I, not E-I-R-E. So, yeah.
For a minute, I thought they might be my people.
No. This is Icelandic people.
My people are definitely of wind and air.
God. Alrighty then.
Regardless.
So, this saga is the tale of Thorolf Harfoot. I'm going to assume that's how it's said. I might be wrong. But there we go. That's what I'm going with.
Butchering names is just what we do.
It is. He is the father of Arnkell, who's also a character in the Airbyggjasaga. I'm going to keep saying that as many times as I can because if I've got it right, I'm impressed with myself. Okay. So, one morning, Thorolf was found dead in his house, staring at a wall in front of him. So the people are pretty freaked out, obviously. They don't think there was any apparent cause of death. He's just sat in his seat, staring at a wall, and he's apparently dead. So his son goes in there to remove him, and he's struggling to remove him. The body is unnaturally heavy. And it requires them putting a hole in the wall and extracting the body out using a couple of oxen.
Wow.
Yeah, to drag him out to the house, to the burial site. So they bury him, and I guess they perform the necessary rites of burial and all that kind of thing. And then after that, later on, things start to go bad in the village. Animals die mysteriously, including the ones that they used to move the body with. There's no apparent no apparent reason. They just find these animals dead.
Right.
And some people disappear, including a shepherd. Now, later on, they're searching for the missing shepherd, and they found his body. And it's found not far from Thorolf's tomb. And his body is blackened, and all his bones are broken. So he's obviously been attacked by something. Now, another part of this mystery, it is noted that when any animals, particularly like when birds land on the tomb, on Thorolf's tomb, they fall down dead pretty much immediately. So there's obviously something very strange going on there. So they rebury the body. They build this like a tower, like a stone building or something to try and seal the body in. Mm-hmm. Because obviously they're convinced that something is going on there with this body. So they do all of that, but the body itself is still said to have haunted the hillside. It is believed that Thorolf has become a Draugr, which is a Nordic term for a malevolent revenant.
Right. Sounds ominous.
Yeah. I think that is an extract from the Air Biggest. There you go. So you get it in again. Yeah, there's a lot more to that. And in fact, there's references as well to that with regards to a thing called the Wild Hunt, which is a very popular sort of supernatural legend occurrence that is featured quite a lot in video games and novels, and it's a very big sort of Nordic Germanic folklore.
Right.
Which,
I believe we're going to be taking a deeper dive into the Wild Hunt in the next episode.
Yeah, we are. So yeah, that was an interesting little story there. And again, it's a very old one, and with the mention of the Draugr, which are a revenant, obviously some reanimation of the dead, obviously something supernatural going on there as well in sorts of ancient Nordic stories and what have you. So yeah, I found that one. I thought it was kind of interesting because I like that kind of stuff. Plus the fact there are Draugr in Skyrim as well, in the video game Skyrim, and they're an absolute bugger to kill when you first start playing the game. I hated coming across them things until I'd leveled up. But yeah.
Fantastic. Well, keeping in line with the ancient ghost stories, I found the first haunted house. And this dates back to the time of the Roman Empire.
Right.
The story involves the ancient philosopher Athenodorus Canonites. I'll say Canonites. There will be my verbal attack on language today.
Yeah.
Athenodorus Canonites. He was from Canana, another slaughter on terms. Canana is a town in what is now modern-day Turkey. And Athenodorus lived from 74 BC to 7 AD. So, like I said, we're talking about the time of the Roman Empire here. The story itself is not one of Thenodorus's own written works, but one that was written about him by a man named Pliny the Younger. In his story, I wonder how that name worked for him as he got older.
There was an elder. There was
Right.
actually one called the Elder, who's, I imagine, his dad.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, in his story, he tells about how Thenodorus went to Athens looking to buy a house. And he found one that was beautiful and strangely low priced.
Now, just quickly, I can't help but notice that, his name is Athenodorus,
Yes.
going to Athens.
Yes.
Was he named after the place? Was he named after Athens?
If he was, I don't know, because he was born in where's modern day Turkey now.
Yeah.
But I don't know where he ended up, to be honest.
Oh, wait, he would have been named after the what am I talking about? He'd have been named after the goddess Athena.
Yeah, maybe. That is something that escapes my knowledge bank at the moment. But
I don't know why I would have said, why would he be named after the city when the city is named after the goddess? He would have been named after because I've clearly had a massive senior moment there.
Lay awake at night wondering why you do some of the things you do, but it's all good.
My classical civilization teacher would probably beat me with a stick for that. Anyway, sorry about that. Go on, that was a completely idiotic interruption.
Very welcome.
Okay.
Anyway, so Athenodorus finds this beautiful house that's really low ball pricing, and he wants to know why. So he asks about the house, and he was told that there's a ghost in the house who is heard relentlessly dragging chains across the floor at night. Drive you crazy kind of paranormal activity.
Yeah.
And then on other occasions, someone may or may not see a ghost of an old man. However, this apparition is very brief and kind of a out of the corner of your eye kind of thing. Nothing really scary about it. Very quick. You know, the thing you think you see something out of the corner of your eye.
Yeah.
And that kind of thing. So he decides that living with a ghost could be something really interesting to study. And he decided to go all in on the property. You know, kind of like Zach Bagans did with the Demon House in Indiana.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So he moved in, and lo and behold, the chain dragging starts. He ignores this, but it becomes more and more persistent over time. It starts to come closer. The sound of the chains are coming closer to him until it finally turns into the sound of a pounding on the door. And when it gets to the level of pounding on the door, it's driven him completely crazy. Goes to the door to answer to find out what this is all about. And when he opens the door, there's an old man standing there. He's in rags, and he just turns and beckons Athenodorus to follow him, which, as you do, Athenodorus goes out into the night with this ghostly figure.
As you do.
As you do, yeah. And they get to a place in the garden where the ghost just disappears.
Nice.
So, out of curiosity, Athenodorus has his servants dig up the spot where the apparition disappeared.
Hang on a minute. Hang on. He woke up his servants.
Yeah, it's his curiosity, but his servants are going to pay the price.
Lazy git. The ghost clearly went to him. He didn't go to his servants. He said, you do it.
Yeah.
And he's like, hang on a minute, time out. I'm far too important to be, to dig in this dirt. How dare you insinuate that I, Athenodorus.
Sounds like it. Yeah.
Let me just go and wake up everybody else and get them to do it while I stand there. Did he sit in a chair and have someone fan him to keep him cool?
Possibly, Yeah, the story didn't say, but I could imagine that happening.
If I was one of the servants, he would become the next haunting for that house when I beat him to death with a shovel.
Well, when they did dig up the spot, they found a skeleton buried there that was bound in chains.
Right.
Once they gave that skeleton a proper burial with full honors, apparently that haunting just stopped. That was all he wanted. He wanted to be found and buried properly
By Athenodorus, not his
by
servants.
Athenodorus, not his servants. But
I would have
he got the
continued to
servant.
haunt him. I would have woken him up every night until he got off his arse and did it himself. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I have nothing for that. I'm disgusted. Oh, actually, I do actually have something for that. There is going back to the Elder Scrolls. We should call this the let's see what ancient ghost stories we can tie into the Elder Scrolls video game series. There is a mission in Elder Scrolls for Oblivion, and it's called Where the Spirits Have Lease. Now, you start in the game. You can buy properties. And there is a property called the Benares Manor in the game. And it's really cheap. Like most of the properties would take you ages to be able to afford to buy them. This one you can buy from this guy in what is essentially a pub. And you go in there and it's like 5,000 gold or septims as the currency is in the game, which is considerably cheaper than anywhere else. And it's a pretty decent house. Like, you look at it and it's like, oh, yeah, I'll have this as a home base. So you do it, and then he gives you the deed and the key to the front door. You move it, and you go inside, and it's all pretty run down in there. You know, it's dark and all of this. And then the objective, obviously, is you have somewhere to sleep. Having the houses in the game gives you somewhere to sleep, which you can then boost your stats. So it's kind of like useful to have this type of thing. So you go in there, you go to sleep. First night you go to sleep, you get woken up, and there's all these ghosts in the house. And you're like, right, you absolute rotten sod. This is why it was so cheap. And then that starts this quest. The quest is called Where the Spirits Have Lease. And you basically solve you have to go all the way to find the guy that sold you the house. He runs off to the Imperial City. You can track him down, and then you can do a quest which then makes the spirits go away. When you then go back, you go to sleep, and when you wake back up in the house afterwards, like the house has been renovated and it's looking pretty damn good and everything like that.
Yeah.
And it was just interesting that it's a very similar kind of story, you know.
Yeah, it might have some basis in that.
Yeah, because certainly I think that they will borrow a lot from these type of things to make video game missions and stuff like that. But yeah, it is kind of a very similar storyline to it. And then, you know, you actually do have a bit where you find part of the body of this thing you need to restore the body, and then you do this thing with the whatever. Yeah, so there is that kind of thing going on in there. So yeah, it's fascinating.
Yeah, that is. I think there is some of that old story in there.
Yeah.
I didn't find anything connected to a video game, but I did find an ancient story that's connected to one of my favorite scary movies of all time.
Right.
Probably the last movie that genuinely scared me.
Yeah.
And that was The Ring.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Well, I like both versions of the film, the Japanese and then the Western version of it. I do like both of them.
Yeah, Ringu is the Japanese version, and the book that it's based on and The Ring are all based on a Japanese story of Okiku. The story of Okiku is one. It's an old Japanese tale story, and there are different versions of this story out there. Literally doing my homework for this, I found three different versions of the story, slightly different. But the one that I'm going to tell today, I found on a video called Haunted Japan, The Well at Himeji Castle by Franklin the Woman on YouTube.
Right.
And this version, she claims, is to be on a plaque at the castle itself in Japan. So we're going to go with this one.
Yeah.
Himeji Castle, for anyone who doesn't know, and I had no clue that it existed before this research, but it is one of the 12 original castles that was built in Japan, and it's still standing. You can actually go there and see most of it for free. But if you want to go inside the main structure, you have to pay, but it's like the equivalent of 10 American dollars. I would say well worth it. I would want to see it.
Yeah.
It's very traditional. You have to take your shoes off to go inside, but it's 6 stories high and very complex inside. I would love to see it someday. The story goes that Lord Norimoto, whose family ruled and lived in the castle, was warned by one of his servant girls that she heard a conversation in which a powerful samurai named Oyama claimed that he was planning to overthrow Norimoto. And because of this warning, Norimoto was able to escape by boat and not be killed. However, with him gone, talk about names. With him gone, Oyama was able to take over the castle and therefore the kingdom. And
Right.
it was one of Oyama's henchmen named Danshiro who found out that Okiku was the one who warned Norimoto that this was about to happen. Well, he didn't want to turn her in, of course, because he had fallen in love with her.
Right.
So, what does he do with this woman that he supposedly loves? Instead of turning her in, he decides to frame her and then blackmail her. So, it was one of Okiku's jobs as a servant of the castle to take care of the family's 10 precious golden plates. And we're not talking about dinnerware, we're talking about symbols of the family's wealth and influence. These, I imagine they were placed in a special cabinet that, this is not eatware. These are something very traditional and very special to the family. Dan Shiro stole one of these plates and hid it. And he goes to Okiku and says, "Look, everyone knows you're going to get blamed for this because it's your job to take care of these. So I will return the plate and we'll go on like nothing happens if you marry me."
Right.
Well, Okiku decides to refuse because she's in love with someone else. She tells him no, it's not going to work, even though she knows she's doomed to be in trouble. Well, this upsets Danshiro. He gets so angry that he drags her out and tosses her down the castle well, where she dies. Now, the legend has it that each following night she crawls up out of that well, soaking wet, and goes into the castle to count the plates. And Danshiro can hear her every night. She starts from 1 and she counts all the way to 9. And then when she realizes that number 10 is still missing, she starts shrieking and screaming and going crazy. And the story says that this ultimately drives Danshiro crazy and he kills himself.
Right.
The legend also says that she still does this today. The well is still there and she supposedly still comes out of it at night, but the castle now is closed to the public after 4:30 p.m., so no one is really in there to actually see it happen anymore. You can't prove that it still happens, whether it does or not, but story says it does. What
Right.
do you think?
Yeah, I can definitely see where the whole ring thing?
Yeah, with her,
The
yeah, her climbing wet.
Yeah, coming out. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely can see how they adapted that to the novel and then the films. The whole counting thing, though, that in the films, it's like a
yeah, 7
countdown from
days.
when you watch the tape, isn't it? But
Yeah,
you can't get out of it by just by just coming up with another number, the next number in the
right,
sequence.
right. Yeah,
Um,
she says 7 days, I think,
yeah,
when she calls. She
yeah,
calls after you watch the video. You watch the video, she calls and says 7 days, and yeah, that's the countdown to your death. But
yeah,
I guess that's how they fit in the countdown in that movie. The
yeah.
first time I ever saw that movie, it was back in the day where we still had VCRs hooked to the TV. And we had an old TV that had one coax input in the back. So we would have to either have the cable box plugged in or the VCR plugged in. Couldn't have both. Well, we
Yeah.
had the VCR plugged in to watch the movie. And then my ex, after the movie, he goes to the back without turning the TV off to put the cable box back on so that he can watch the news. Well, we're all still sitting there around in the dark. The credits for The Ring are still rolling. He gets up and walks over, and the next thing we hear is when, when he unplugs the VCR, all the kids scream. It
Oh
was
my
hilarious.
god.
But
Yeah.
yeah, that movie really scared me.
Yeah.
So I wish they would make a movie that could really scare me like that today.
Yeah, they don't really scare me too much these days, it must be said.
Well, now that we've taken a look at some ghost history, I have a question for you.
Okay.
Because we all know that you're our resident science guy. The if for those of you who watch our entertainment,
Mm-hmm.
Aidy is our resident Shaniac.
I am.
He is all science all day long.
Yeah.
If you don't know what that means, I highly recommend you look up Watcher on YouTube, Watcher Entertainment. It's a couple guys from that started out on BuzzFeed, Shane Bidet and Ryan Bergara. They have their own company now called Watcher Entertainment. Yeah, I must say, AD is definitely our science guy. So
Yeah.
I have a question for you.
Wonderful.
The only thing that's important, let's say this is for $1 million. All you have to do is be right. So when you answer this question, we're talking about we don't want the answer that you think we want to hear. We don't want the answer that's going to make everybody happy. We want what you think is going to be right because money's on the line, right?
Okay.
What is a ghost? Now, when I say that, I'm talking about this phenomenon that so many of us call ghost activity.
All right.
What is that really, in your opinion, for $1
In my
million?
opinion, what is it for $1 million? I could just cop out and say I don't know, couldn't I? And then technically I'm
yeah.
right because I don't know, and so therefore give me the $1 million. So this is a really horrible question because this is the part where
I am
now
putting you on
people
the
who
spot.
listen to this will start to hate me. Well, I mean,
I think there's probably more like you than like me that listen.
in truth, let me put it this way. Overall, I don't know because, and I think nobody does, to be perfectly honest with you.
Right.
Now, I think a lot of it can be explained scientifically,
Right.
and the rest of it is possibly waiting a scientific explanation. or yeah, I think a lot can be explained. It's a difficult one to answer this, to be perfectly
Yeah.
honest.
I did put you on the spot.
I do think there are unexplainable things out there, but that's because we don't have a full grasp of nature. We know a lot, but we don't know everything. And I think that the parts that we don't know are the parts that do appear to be supernatural because we don't know.
Yeah, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's not
No, it don't, no,
supernatural. It just means we
it just
don't know
means we
yet.
don't know. And in a lot of cases, when I watch stuff, when I watch these shows on TV, and when I watch people doing these paranormal investigations and what have you, it's very, very difficult to know the environment that they're in that could be giving rise to anything, any readings or anything like that they find. There are clearly things, though, that happen that are not normal.
Yeah.
And that is paranormal. That's what it means. It's things that are not normal.
It's kind of UFO. UFO doesn't mean alien, it means
No,
unidentified.
that's right. And that's kind of the thing. As I've always sort of said, the absolute golden piece of evidence is an undisputed full-on apparition. You know, that you both see with your eyes, you record it. It isn't a projection. There's nothing, nothing that could be causing this that can be a piece of technology. This isn't a holographic projection or anything like that. This is a literal thing that you capture. And there is no doubt. That's the gold standard. That's the thing that you need to get. Because everything else, I think, can be explained. I really do. You're taking so much on faith. And in these days, with technology, it's very, very difficult to know what's real and what isn't. I mean, especially with the advent of AI, that has just thrown a big spanner in the works.
Yeah,
when you've seen
definitely.
what it can do, like generating stuff with real people, I mean, there is still a bit of the uncanny valley thing going on with it, but how it's evolved, how that technology has evolved in a very short period of time, it's only going to get better and more convincing, and that's going to make it very hard to know that what you're seeing on, whether it's television or on the internet or wherever, it's going to make it very difficult to just simply accept it.
Yeah.
You would have to see it with your own eyes and be in that environment and know that whatever this is, it's clearly not been generated by anything technological. What is a ghost? I don't know. I mean, we all want to think it's associated with the afterlife. Could it be residual energy? Could it be some things in your brain? Your brain always tries to form patterns, of recognition. Yes. That's what it's always trying to do. Is it literally like a misfire in the synapses or whatever it is that pattern recognition part of your brain? I mean, how I can't answer it because there's just so many variables through science. And then, I mean, science has neither proven nor disproven. I think that's an important thing to stress. Science has proven a lot of things, has found explanations for a lot of things, but it hasn't found explanations for everything.
Yeah. And it makes a lot of sense what you were saying about the real being a minute percentage of the whole, because you have the initial finding.
Yeah.
The initial EVP or the initial photograph, whatever. That's a fluke. That's completely unexplainable. And then everybody wants to get that evidence, don't they?
Yeah.
So they'll be a little bit more forgiving with bending the story to make their evidence genuine also. Do you know what I mean? Not
Yeah.
necessarily, I'm not saying anybody's faking anything, but maybe your brain is like, you really want that evidence. So your brain has that way of justifying, okay, this is why this is evidence.
Yeah. There's a lot of things, I think. It's like when people do EVPs. This, if they didn't actually slow it down, enhance it, there would probably be a lot of noises that you would hear that you wouldn't pay any attention to.
Yeah.
Sometimes there are, but again, my whole issue with these things is if you've got a piece of technology that is prone to any kind of error, then straight away anything that is recorded on that is questionable.
Well, I just don't know what you're talking about faulty equipment other than maybe a Panasonic recorder that people need to stop selling on eBay.
Well, yeah, especially at the inflated prices for something
Exactly.
that Panasonic replaced because it was faulty.
I will go on my one woman mission to take that down.
So, but yeah, I mean, is that? But even in the stuff that isn't, I mean, we all know technology can do weird things. It's
Yeah.
not reliable, and so that's the whole thing about the repeat. To do it again, and does the same thing happen under the same circumstances? And then, that is the whole scientific process, is to keep repeating the experiment and trying different things to see if you can get it to do different things. So there is a process there, and I just think that, like you said, I mean, it's difficult, and obviously it can be quite emotive. People do have strong beliefs in things and
Yeah.
what have you. And I'm not in a million years would I ever say that they're all wrong and I'm 100% right. I do mean it when I say literally,
You
like,
say
I
that to
don't
me
know.
every day.
Well, in that situation, of course, I am right. But I mean, what you know what I mean?
I get it. Yeah.
What I'm saying is, it's like it's so very difficult to be able to conclusively say one thing or the other, when I think it's a lot more complicated than that. Personally, I do. So to answer what it is, I don't know, and I think that it also is always going to depend. I think it can be situational, environmental. I think there are a whole host of things
I think you're right about that.
that actually impact upon it. And I'm no scientist, so I wouldn't like to say for sure, but I would think that a lot of it would be an environmental phenomena, and a situational phenomena as well. I don't even know if that even remotely answered the question, but that's about as good as I can get with it. So
I think you took one hell of a stab at it.
yeah,
So, well, Aidy, it's season 2. It's
it is.
underway. Do we
It
have any
is.
idea what we're doing yet?
What I mean overall, or for the next episode?
Well, there's my answer.
Yeah,
I think we're getting there, but we definitely need more listener feedback to really make this podcast great.
yeah,
So, if you're listening and you have a personal ghost story that you would like for us to tell on the show, please send it to stories@postaboutghosts.com. And then if you have any suggestions for topics that we can cover, or you want to tell us how we're doing, send those emails to contact@postaboutghosts.com. You can also follow us on X. We are at posts ABT Ghosts on X. Our Facebook and YouTube links, as well as all our social media links and the podcast episodes, are on the website at www.postaboutghosts.com. And finally, you can listen to us wherever you get your podcasts using the RSS feed that I'm going to link you to in the show notes below. And have a great week, everybody. We'll see you
Yes.
next Wednesday with some ghostly folklore in season 2, episode 2.
Marvelous.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.